and corrections are encouraged.
Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
Damn good coffee and hot.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with a Dog. You make me laugh.
Hopefully, you will laugh a little today. Hopefully. Maybe not. We'll try. We'll do our best. That's all we can do is do our best. You can't do any better than your best. So we'll try to do our best. Try to do our best. Now, we're not necessarily going to do our best. We're just going to try. Good morning, folks. Good morning, people. It is Thursday. The second favorite day of the week. Thursday is the second favorite day of the week. November 2nd, 2023. Good day to have you here. The sun is shining, but it's still cold. Winter is here. The seasons are all messed up. And I'm your loyal mind dog, your mind's best friend. Your dog is your best friend. Mind dog is your mind's best friend. And that's all I have to say. Have a good night. Goodbye for now. Today we have a very long show. It's already too long. It's already too long at this point, and we have 4 hours to go. 4 hours of this. I'm exaggerating. Maybe 3. Maybe 2.5. Something like that. I don't know. We're going to do a show. We're going to try to do a show. Vanessa, we're not necessarily going to do a show. We're going to try to do a show. We're going to try to do our best, but we're not necessarily going to do our best. We're going to try to do our best to make you laugh. We have 2 outstanding comedians in the early hours, the first 2 hours, and then we have a wise-ass author in the third hour who has authored a book called Raising Eyebrows about Groucho Marx. But he seems to have Groucho, he had whatever it was that Groucho had, that smart-ass repertoire. Ooh. He seems to have caught. It was contagious. I'm starting off a little slow here. Not a good night. Sciatica for me, pain, and it has a lot to do with the seasonal stuff. It also has to do with the fact that I'm fucking 300 years old and a miserable bastard who needs some exercise. And oddly enough, probably not going to get much today sitting in this chair for 3.5 hours or whatever the hell, however long I'm going to be here. Just my roids are getting exercise. Well, not really. They're just getting crunched and swollen and big. Not that. Maybe it's too much information early in the morning. Probably. Anyway, Vanessa Hollingshead, very funny comedian, will be here at 9:15. She's performing at Sticks and Stones Comedy Club this weekend. Then in the second hour, Joe Pontillo, New York City based comedian, who is a very funny guy. His internet approach is very different than a lot of comedians who are just putting reels out of their crowd work and all that kind of stuff. He's doing a lot of skits and stuff that he writes for himself, which are very funny. Different approach than a lot of stand-up comedians are taking. And then in the third hour, Steve Stoliar, who is the official archivist of the Groucho Marx estate, and worked with Groucho while he was still alive as I don't know, Boy Friday. I don't know exactly but he was the archivist of the Groucho Marx estate. He answered a lot of emails for Groucho, I guess, categorized and organized all his memorabilia and stuff that he had from his very, very long life in comedy. So that will be the show we're looking forward to bringing you today. Hopefully, you'll stick with us for all of it, and hopefully we'll have a few laughs here along the way. Did want to say congratulations to the Texas Rangers who won the World Series, and nobody cares. The World Series. Now this is interesting. The World Series ratings have gone steadily down since the last time the Mets were in there. Coincidence? I say not. We need the Mets back in the World Series, or else it's just going to drop off the map altogether, and nobody's going to care about the World Series. Now, the Texas Rangers won last night, and congratulations again, filled with Mets, ex-Mets. So, but even that didn't help. You can't do it with ex-Mets. They have to be current Mets. I guess that's the point we're trying to get to. So that's important to know. It's kind of like when Trump says if you don't reelect him, we're not going to have a country anymore. If you don't let the Mets win, just lay down and let the Mets win next year. If you don't do that, we're not going to have baseball anymore. That's basically what the message is to all the other teams out there. If you want Major League Baseball to survive, lay down and let the Mets win. That's what I'm saying. Also, congratulations to George Santos, our buddy George Santos, for not getting expelled from Congress, which is a good thing for me, personally. Now, let me just say this before we go to a quick commercial, and then we'll have our first guest in, and we'll say good morning to GD. By the way, Willie's going to be in the chat room today. He's he's not going to be on camera. He's got some issues. Willie's always got some issues. Anyway, the Democrats, 31 Democrats voted not to expel George Santos. 12 of them just voted present, which is a non-vote, and one person just abstained from saying anything. If all of them would have voted to expel him, he would have been expelled. Well, a certain number of Republicans wanted it, but a certain number of Republicans also didn't want it because of the seat. They're afraid that seat could go to a Democrat. Anyway, a lot of Democrat people were really upset with their elected Democrats for voting not to expel Santos. And again, short game. They're thinking like cheerleaders, and any chance to win, to score a few points, matters to them. But the big picture, really, and for somebody like me, who's going to be running against Santos as an independent next year, I want him around for as long. You know what? If they ran anybody, if they ran a monkey, if they ran a retarded monkey, I wouldn't have a chance. But if they run George Santos, I have a chance. That's basically the way it shakes out for me. But here's the thing, and this is important to know. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I hate the fucking parties. But the Democrats did the right thing. At least Jamie Raskin put it this way: he's a constitutionalist, and you don't set a precedent of expelling a guy before he's been convicted of crimes. You wait till if he gets convicted of the crimes, they will turn around and vote him out, which makes a lot of sense. You don't want to set a precedent of anytime somebody's accused of something, you throw them out. Now, I think once he starts going to trial and doesn't have time to do his job, maybe, but even then, you got to wait till somebody. But I remember a day when the Republicans would have those kind of principles. Believe it or not, I know a lot of people can't remember. They're not old enough to remember because it's been that long. But there was a day when they did have those kind of principles. Anyway, I'm going to go to a commercial. We'll come back. We'll let GD in the room, and then we'll meet our first guest. Naked Wines is a new way to buy wine. If you like wine, and you're going to spend $40 a month on wine anyway, you wino bastards, you might as well get on this new Naked Wines train. Check out Naked Wines, and we'll be back in just 1 minute.
Welcome to a better way to buy wine. NakedWines.com is a customer-funded wine business. We don't just sell wines, we make them happen. Since launching in the UK in 2008, Angels have helped us invest in over 159 independent winemakers in 14 different countries. Turns out, it's better business for everyone. Our winemakers get to sell all of their wines and make a living. We make the same margins as everyone else and have a lot of fun along the way. And as a wine drinker, for the $40 a month you probably would have spent on wine anyway,
How much
you'll get
fun could it
wholesale
be?
prices. You can be sure that all of our wines have been lovingly made by a talented winemaker and stripped of all the costs that add nothing to the flavor or quality of the juice in the bottle. Support independent winemakers. Get better wine in return. With the support of 300,000 wine drinkers, we fund talented independent winemakers up front. This way, they get to spend all of their attention on making you the best wine possible. World-class wine, direct from talented independent winemakers. A better deal, up to 60% off market prices. A better way to discover tasty new favorites with over 2 million reviews from wine drinkers like you. Become an angel today. Get started by visiting minddogtv.com and click the banner on the homepage now.
Yeah. Well. Hello. Good morning, GD.
Good morning. Mind Dog Coffee. I don't always drink coffee, but when I do, I get the shits.
Well,
Mind Dog Coffee.
I'm gonna have to drink a lot of Mind Dog coffee today. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
Got any thoughts on the Santos thing? Because I know a lot of people on the left are all on fire about their own party not choosing to throw a Republican out. I think that's funny.
Well, I agree with you. Since he has not been convicted, don't throw him out. I think that the 31 that the Democrats that said don't throw him out. I don't know which ones are saying, well, he didn't do any, it's not convicted, and how many of them thinking fundraising. I don't know what, because that's what I'm thinking. A lot of them going fundraising. So
yeah, he stole the identity of people who were donating to his campaign. Not only money laundering and all that stuff, but if people who wrote in and gave him their credit card numbers and all that stuff, he used that to buy, I don't know, a new TV or some crazy stuff. Anyway, we have a really good guest now. I don't know if you're familiar with Vanessa Hollingshead, but really funny stuff. She's got a piece that she put out recently about hot yoga, which was hysterical.
Yeah.
But she's got a long, a very successful career and a lot of accomplishments in comedy. And she's going to be headlining Sticks and Stones out in the Hamptons. I think it's Friday night. I will check on that really quick. But let's welcome her in right now. Say hello to Vanessa Hollingshead. Good morning.
Good morning. Great to be on the show and listening to you this morning.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. It's actually I'm very honored to have you here. I've watched some of your work, and I'm really I laugh hard at it, and it's really hard to laugh at a computer screen. You know, just somebody. It's not the same as being in a comedy club. So I appreciate
Well,
you.
that it was a little brutal doing that. I mean, my yoga bit, which I do take yoga, I had to clean it all up because I had to do it for the Mormons in Utah.
Right. I was going to ask you about that.
Of what we can say and what we can't say, and there was a lot of young people. Do you remember that show, that movie, Looking for Mr. Goodbar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was. You get to Utah, there's not a bar in sight, and I used to say, I'm not looking for. I remember I saw that movie on the flight, Looking for Mr. Goodbar. I get to Utah, I'm just looking for a good bar. I couldn't even do it because they don't drink. They were all having soda pop, and they were like, you can't make fun of the church, you can't make fun of Mormons, you can't make fun of the sanctity of marriage, you can't say God, you can't say damn, you could say but it's got to be but there is a question, not but
Right.
your ass. I mean, it was just a list that went. So seasoned comedians that have been performing for like 30, 40 years were like nervous wrecks. So the fact that made it too. And so as I'm doing the set, I'm editing in my brain,
Oh.
to make sure I don't go, yeah, can you believe it? Jesus Christ. I mean, those come out like a comma to me, not swearing, but
I know
Yeah.
you're from New York. It
I'm
has
from New
to.
York. Yeah.
It's punctuation.
Let me just say that I was surprised because that's the dirtiest thing. Your yoga thing is the dirtiest bit they've ever seen, and you did clean it up. But I was, because when I saw drive-by comedy in there, I was like, aren't these the squeaky clean people? I know people who go out there who really had a tough time cleaning up their act for that. But
No, some the first show, you tape 2 shows. I know one, the first show, the guy's like, this isn't even me doing comedy. The second show, I don't care. I got the first one out. I'm gonna say God, I'm gonna say damn. It's just like,
wow. Now, do you get to keep the tape and edit it, or they do that?
oh no, they do that. I waited. It was almost 2 years before that tape came out.
That's a shame, because I'm sure they
Nice,
edited some of it out.
they did a nice job editing it, and they've got more views than a Comedy Central because everyone seems to like the clean humor. People like either filthy, triple, like I do cruise ships, and it's like there's different levels, X, triple X, 3X. I'm like bawdy. I'm like R. I'm like R. I'm not.
Right. So you're at Sticks and Stones November 3rd.
Yes, with Bridget Kavanaugh, Joe Winchell, and Steve Rocco Perillo, and it's 2 shows. It's November 3rd and 4th at Sticks and Stones Comedy Club, which is a beautiful venue. They have wines. I don't know if they have the naked wines. I was watching that commercial, that Your Naked Wines commercial.
Steve Rocco Perillo. I should know that name because, from New York. It sounds like 70s commercial.
Pillow, right?
Yeah. GD, I muted you because you were whatever you were doing, private business there. You're still muted.
Because I was trying to fix the screen with my finger, and I have to use my mouse. I apologize.
That's difficult.
Yeah,
no, it's fine.
Yeah.
But coming back to this clean thing, now we've had a lot of comedians on and I said they say, well, you gotta work clean in order to work more, and it will get you more work. But I'm of the opinion that you can't change who you are. You got to be authentic, and if you're not clean, you can't purposely be clean, or you're not going to be funny if you're just faking being clean. What's your take on that?
Well, it's not. No, I can work. It's good to have a set that's clean, so you're not constantly going through stuff. And most of my stuff is relatively clean. I really object to the censorship that has happened to comedians. Sometimes I think it's easier to be a politician than it is to be a comedian. Our job is to shine light on the truth. Our funny way of seeing things. It's not a reason to cancel comedians for just having a different opinion. That has really made me insane. I've lost sleep over that. And I remember I got really depressed once because I'd gotten taken off of a show for being too edgy, or there's certain. I would make fun of everybody, every accent, every denomination, every race, every religion, and it was because it was done in a loving way. But now they take it out of context.
Right.
I can make fun of the French guy. I can't make fun of the Muslim guy, even though it's equal. It's insane to me. I had to change an Indian bit of trying to get pregnant with my Indian doctor, and I had to make him Australian. So it's the same line, but now it's not. So they said no, that's offensive. And I said I study yoga. I go namaste. I know. I used to do a joke saying I'm so bad with technology. I'm in the process of adopting an Indian kid so I could figure out how to work my cell phone. That had to get taken out. I was like, yeah, I'll take Vishnu as my Lord and Savior. He can bring me in the 21st century. Now it's like I'm so bad with technology. I'd adopt a 7-year-old so I could figure out. So it doesn't pack the same punch, but nobody gets offended. And I remember Whoopi Goldberg said you can let this whole thing of what you can say and can't say make a comedian make them cynical, bitter, angry, depressed, or you can start working smarter. And that was almost a line that saved me, that made me realize, let me try and see if I could say what I want to say, but work smarter. Because I say, listen, I'm offended by people who are easily offended. All of you offend me.
Right.
You're saying to me that my opinion doesn't count, and you're so worried about your Second Amendment rights. We're slowly losing our First Amendment rights. Everyone is afraid to speak up or offend people. It's gotten to me, it's scary. To me, it's like I remember seeing Handmaid's Tale thinking, wow, what a horrible thing. And now I'm like, wow, this is a documentary. Everything's become, there is such a stronghold on what we can and can't say. But it's like George Carlin, Pryor, Bill Hicks, all of the greats just simply shined a light. Lenny Bruce just shined a light on the truth, and now it's being dimmed it's being dimmed by society. Young people, older people now are more open-minded than young people.
That's true. That's very, very true. I did catch the Aussie reference, and I thought, that's so strange. I've never heard anybody punch on the Aussies before, other than Shane Gillis did in his recent special, but it wasn't real. And I remember thinking just briefly as that reference went past, like, that was a strange reference. Why Aussies?
Because they're white, and because they're white.
Yeah,
They're white, and they're not, but I couldn't do Aborigines,
he did yesterday, but he can.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm an Aborigine.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I used to do black. I used to say we ought to get an army of black women over the Middle East. I'd make fun, like they make fun to get these kids to have some respect for their mother. I used to do a whole bit, and I'd be a black woman, and black women would like it. Black women. Now white people make sure black women are laughing. Just a whole new. And if I work on ships where there's if I have a black and white audience, I'm good. If I've got mainly white people with a couple of black people scattered in, my black material is going to be quieted. It's just so strange. It's very strange.
Interesting. I gotta ask you about this, because in your bio, it says your father is the guy who first gave Timothy Leary a hit of acid.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, I don't think you could be old enough for that, because
it's the yoga and the Botox keeps me looking good, and the boom screen doesn't hurt.
Wow.
No, I took LSD accidentally. Took 9 hits of LSD accidentally because they left it out on sugar cubes. They drop it into the sugar cubes.
Right.
Little kid, I see sugar. I eat them all. I start tripping my brains out. And my dad drove me around Millbrook. We lived at Millbrook Mansion briefly for like 12 hours. And then Richard Alpert, who became Baba Ram Dass, gave me a shot of Thorazine in my ass to to just knock me out for the rest of the.
Oh my
12 hours.
God!
And
What
I
a
remember it. I remember because I hated needles. I remember I didn't know what was going on, and my dad was like, I hope she doesn't have some horrible brain damage, But I obviously didn't get any brain damage. Maybe I did. I don't know.
maybe it did.
But they're very careless. But it was a very weird to be a little kid living with all these hippies and hearing Indian music and but they were extraordinary men. Like you always see shows on LSD and it's like these, tree hugging hippies and then a short of Tim Leary going, tune in, turn on, drop out. Yeah. I mean, he was a Harvard psychologist. And my dad, he was a British writer. He wrote The Man Who Turned on the World about giving Leary. He told Leary Leary was experimenting with psilocybin mushrooms with Richard Alpert. They went to Mexico. They were like, this is it. And they started giving it to students at Harvard, which was undergrads, which was a mistake. And then sleeping with them. This was way before Me Too, when all the girls were sleeping with the professors. So my dad, this LSD, my dad was like, listen, I've got something that'll run rings around your mushrooms. And Leary's like, man, and mushrooms are natural. It's good. So my dad went to Harvard and he threatened to kill himself. Like, listen, if you don't take try this acid, I'm just going to kill myself. And his wife, Tim Leary's wife at 35 on Tim Leary's 35th birthday, committed suicide. So this pulled at his heartstrings. So he managed to get over to Leary's house. My dad was quite manipulative, managed to get over to Leary's house. And Flo Ferguson, who was Maynard Ferguson's wife, he started flirting with Flo Ferguson and gave her a hit of the LSD. She tried it and she was like, oh man, there's nothing like this. And Tim, who loved Flo Ferguson, took the LSD from my dad. And then my dad was like, got carte blanche. So she kind of was the little, who was kind of the little mediator that
acid fluffer.
Yeah, the acid, conduit. She was the acid conduit. We got
Holy crap! Now you can't overdose on LSD. What? I'm thinking as a little kid.
Well, yes, you can. You can. MK Ultra was doing horrible experiments on prisoners and on people. There was Sidney Gottlieb was one of the most evil, vile. Picture like Dr. Mengele, but with LSD.
Wow.
And he was giving overprescribed hits of LSD. Like he would take prisoners and usually black or Hispanic prisoners in jail and dose them for 77 days solid with LSD. They were trying to lose their mind, to reconstruct their mind. And they used it was for Soviet spies. They wanted to practice this mind control. But because LSD made you see God, made you feel connectedness, made you feel love, the CIA was saying that the opposite was beginning to happen. But I mean, you can have a bad trip. I mean, if you're wrongly committed or you're in jail, in prison in the early 60s, you could take a lot of acid. But for 77 days to give people overprescribed acid day in and day out,
I've had plenty of bad trips. Believe me, I had my experience with LSD, but I was under the impression that you don't actually die from the drug like an OD, like from heroin, but you might jump out of a window or that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But nine hits for a kid, because I don't think I've ever done more than 2 or 3, and I wasn't a small child when I was experimenting. I was a teenager and into adulthood. I can't imagine a little kid on 9 hits of sugar cube.
Your brain isn't like. I remember jumping up and down on the trampoline in Millbrook Mansion and then seeing all these fluorescent worms. And I started screaming for my dad because I thought there was worms everywhere. And my dad grabbed me. Britta was his girlfriend at the time. She grabbed me, and Alex, this other little boy, I think he'd taken the acid. We were both high on acid. I don't know whatever happened to this kid. I don't know his last name. I'm working on a show all about this called The Divine Rascal. And my dad, and I remember looking at my dad and I said, Dad, look at my nails are getting smaller. Look at pictures are ripping. And he realized that I had gotten into the LSD because your eyes dilate. So,
Wow.
but
Wow. Did that did that stop you from experimenting with drugs as you got older? It could go either way. It could make you like a hardcore drug addict, or it could make somebody who's willing to try anything and everything, or it could have the opposite effect and make you somebody who's reluctant to try a bunch of stuff.
well, I did it another time with my dad when I ended up living at this commune when I was very young, but I became very straight. I became the straight A student. I rebelled by becoming so straight. He used to get so angry at me. He'd be getting high and go, "Would you like some? You like some grass, Vanessa, or some hashish?" "No, Dad, I got a test tomorrow." "Oh, you're so straight. It's an embarrassment that you're actually my daughter." I'm
You
like,
know,
I would think that you'd be happy that your daughter wants to study, wants to be a good student. Oh, yes, but I mean, to just not even a touch. I mean, I do not like, I mean, there are drugs I like, trust me. And my biggest downfall has been red wine. Red wine kind of brought me to my knees. So I smoked, I drank coffee, I experimented with pot, I experimented with all kinds of drugs, but I never got addicted to them quite the same way I got addicted to alcohol. And that was kind of genetic. I never wanted to drink. I didn't really start drinking heavily until my husband died. And I didn't even think I had a problem with it. I didn't realize that gene gets passed on. I thought I became a sugar addict. My mother wouldn't let me have sugar. My mother would give me amphetamines to clean the apartment at 8 years old, but she wouldn't let me have, M&Ms.
that's bizarre.
I'm not even. I wish I could say I'm making this up for the show. No, this is all.
No, I believe all of it. Maybe I'm gullible, but I believe every word of it. I love listening to you talk because I don't get a lot of, even though I get New York comedians on here, I don't get a lot of people who haven't worked at losing their New York accent. And your New York accent makes me feel like I'm home. But I've also heard you do in some of your reels a really convincing British accent, and I didn't realize this morning where it came from. You listen to your father talk your whole life, so.
Well, I lived in England when I went to a British high school, and I thought it was going to be something like Oliver Twist, where they just welcome me and they'd be like, "Well, we got the American from, let's make her feel at home. Yeah, come on, I'm going to introduce you to my mates." And I remember seeing Oliver Twist as a little kid, and I wanted to marry the Artful Dodger. And my friends were like, "You don't want to be a princess? I mean, a prince?" I'm like, "No, I want the guys that you got to pick a pocket or two." Like, I guess I like the bad boys,
Yeah. You've performed on Long Island, Governors and Brokerage, right?
Yeah,
Have you
Governor, all the govs, yes.
have you done? Have you performed in Southampton or the Hamptons at all?
I have not performed in Southamptons for a very long time. Usually I don't go up there because of traffic. I'll be cursing to take that jitney up there. I'm like, this is not worth it. Not worth it.
I
But,
hear that. And listen, it's all. I'm in Shoreham, Long Island, and even for me, it's like a nightmare. The traffic, so I can't coming from
I
New
like
York City.
Long Island crowds. I love the beach. I did some privates like in Norfolk,
Yeah,
yeah.
the Northwest.
Worked with DC Benny. He's a wonderful comedian from Long Island. And I never thought I had such a strong New York accent, but I remember I had an audition. They wanted They wanted New Yorkers to audition for a commercial, and I told my agent, I said, "Oh, so I'll talk like this?" And she goes, "No, you just talk the way you talk." I remember trying not to be insulted because usually people say, "So where are you from?" And now I'm like, you can't tell I'm not from New York. I mean, but
Yeah.
I'm not too New York, but I'm New York. I've got the New York attitude,
Right.
New
Yeah.
Yorkers are actually like, we always get New Yorkers have the biggest hearts in the world. like New Yorkers will, like, if you're lost, and some say, is that I know. I'm like, okay, you want the 7 train? That's I don't know. All right, come on. I'm going to take you to train. No, do you have your card, your Metro card? No, oh, all right, here, come on. Yeah. Okay, now you take the 7 to 42nd, then you get out to Flushing. No. Okay, hold on. Yeah, I'm gonna be late. Yeah, this woman's trying to see her brother. She speak English. It's all right. Just sit down. It's all right. Yeah, I'll be late. All right. Okay, bye. That's a New Yorker. Am I right?
Yes, I think so. But I'm from here, and you know what? But yeah, we do have a misguided reputation. We have, we are short with different things, but I think for somebody who's lost like that, or somebody in need, New Yorkers can have a really big heart. I think you're right.
Have really big hearts. It's like I say, we didn't start off with an attitude. It's like, if I haven't been stabbed, beaten, or robbed, I've had a good day.
Right.
You walk into your house and your home. I walk into my apartment. I'm like, I'm alive. That's what the city is like. There's the bikes. I'm surprised. I'm surprised I haven't gotten hit by a bicycle. They're everywhere.
Right.
So,
The cruise ship stuff, is that because you're playing for the same crowd like 4 nights in a row, right? Or
sometimes 7 nights in a row, sometimes 20 shows a week, and it's for Southerners.
Wow.
So when I come on, I'm like, I know that, first of all, I always feel they don't like me. They hear me open my mouth, and they're like, what's this Northern New Yorker gonna say? Gonna make us laugh. So that's usually my target audience. So I've had to do jokes where I make fun of New Yorkers and do a little pro-Southern stuff to slowly bring them back to my way of seeing stuff. But no, it's been, and you have to perform for 3 to 93 and very conservative audiences. So you have to watch what you say.
I wouldn't think that. Maybe I just don't think it through. But it's been a long time since I did a cruise ship once in like the early '80s, and but I was playing music, not comedy. So you could play as long as you had you could play different music, and you could get through a week and not have to do the same thing. But do you do the same shows? Pretty much the same show 7 nights a week?
No, I do, like, I have to have 5 separate half hours, and then they love crowd work. I do a lot of crowd work, but when I have ships coming in from New York or Baltimore, I've got my northern people there.
Right.
So I feel a little bit, but if I do ships coming out of, Jacksonville, Florida, or Florida, sometimes Miami could be, and then you have the booze cruises where they start drinking at 11 in the morning, and you go on at 11:30 at night. You feel like something out of Gladiator,
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And then the host can barely speak English, and he's scared. He's like, okay, we ready for the show? Okay. Vanessa, and they'll be screaming drunk, and you just have to hold your own. So those shows can be those are the shows that makes you want to drink,
Yeah. Just to be clear now, it's Friday and Saturday. You got the full weekend this weekend, Friday and Saturday, 7 p.m. shows at Sticks and Stones. And then you're going to be back there in 2 weeks, November 17th. So,
No, I won't be back November 7th. I'm not going to be doing that show.
Oh, well, they still have it on their website.
Oh, okay. No, I will not be doing the November 17th.
Well, I'll try. I'll mention that to Abby when I talk to her. It's still on the website.
And
anyway.
I did a film with her. We did a show about the comic strip. She directed a great movie called Drink, Eat, Laugh. And it was all about the history of the comic strip. I was married to Lucian Holt, who was the artistic director of the comic strip. And he discovered, Adam Sandler and Chris Rock and, all the stars, Louis C.K.
Yeah. I remember that's basically how I met Abby. We were talking about that because I was talking about some of the movies that were made about comedy, and we started a conversation about that, and then one thing led to another, and then she still opened Sticks and Stones, and but so tell me about this television show. Is this still a work in progress? A Divine Rascal?
Uh, no, it's actually we actually finished the deck. We're trying to. We had the horrible writer's strike, but we're trying to get this. We're trying to get this sold to really put these guys' names on the map of what they did. And Tim Leary's daughter committed suicide. Tim Leary's son has nothing to do with him. Tim Leary died. My dad died. Richard Alpert died. Um, the only person that actually lived through a little bit of that and knows the history as a daughter growing up is me. And the sad thing is, they were so busy trying to turn the world on, but they didn't do a great job raising children. I was in and out of like the foster care system and in and out of homes because my dad had been arrested or he was in England or he's turning everybody on and and he'd be like, it's very hard to create a bloodless revolution and be a father. I just
Right. Is that your first endeavor into writing for television, or I mean, I know you've written comedy, but for yourself, but writing a television series?
Yes, that is, and that's been a labor of love because I had to do research on all these men. They were all brilliant men, and they've always been. There has never been a show ever written, a scripted series. It's always been a documentary, a scripted series that is biting, dark humor, very truthful about Timothy Leary, Richard Alpert, and Michael Hollingshead, and it's the story of my dad's life. He's the protagonist and then what happens to him. And all he wanted to do was turn on the world with this molecule. And he was from Darlington. He had a chip on his shoulder. He was a writer and he got into the right circles, but he always felt like the outsider. And the elusiveness when he took that first hit of acid and tripped his brains out on a New York City rooftop in Central Park West, that magic of everything of his, your ego dissolves and you actually feel a oneness with God. I mean, it's an extraordinary thing when you take acid and it does what it's supposed to do. And he thought if everybody could just have this experience, the world might be a better place. Everyone might stop with the wars and all this. There might be some enlightenment, at least from our government and from people but it was so powerful because, you can, that's why Leary became the most dangerous man in America because he was able to this LSD would actually would change people's minds. So even Bill Wilson, who started Alcoholics Anonymous, had taken LSD and he wanted other alcoholics. They were all Leary, Bill Wilson. They were doing the Concord prison experiments and they were giving prisoners LSD. And a lot of them were never going back to crime. It had this profound effect. But for my dad, the saddest thing is after that one hit of acid, he was never able to get that enlightenment. He wanted to enlighten people, but he had such, he was an alcoholic and he had untreated alcoholism and he had a lot of anger. And his alcoholism, not his drug addiction, his addiction to amphetamines, his addiction to opiates, his crazy, nasty temper and his alcoholism were to be his undoing when he was trying to do something very extraordinary.
I can relate to all of that. Yeah, I just would say that I have experienced the enlightenment on LSD, but the problem with it is you get to a point where, okay, I've had enough. I want off the train, and it says no, the train doesn't stop for another 2 days.
Right.
But people are turning to other psychedelics now for treatments for all sorts of mental disorders and all that kind of stuff. The one I've never done, and I am extremely curious and wanting to try is DMT. It's supposed to be as intense as LSD, and you get that really connection to God type of experience, but it's over in 15 minutes.
Right.
I'm looking
Right.
forward. I want to try that.
I agree with too. It's like, is this going to end?
Right.
But Bob Ram Dass when he met his guru. I mean, it's all these, Bill W. actually had to step down from the board of Alcoholics Anonymous because he wanted people to take LSD. So the guy that created Alcoholics Anonymous had to step down because there were a lot of New York, no, cigarettes, coffee, and cigarettes killed Bill W., emphysema.
Yeah.
But Richard Alpert said through prayer, he gave up all drugs and just meditated. And he said, this enlightenment, these enlightened states, you can actually reach, but you got to work for it. You got to do a lot of meditation and you will get to it. They did studies where they took Buddhist monks and they monitored them and they monitored their brain, and that state of like where you're tripping your brains out, where different sections of your brain light up, were as lit up, if not more. And they were just, doing their meditation. So it's all possible, but it's just you got to work for it. It's like when you get abs, plastic surgery to get a six pack, or you just go to the gym and get the six pack.
Right. Now, this weekend at Sticks and Stones, how long will you be doing? You'll be doing an hour, a half hour, 45 minutes. What are you doing?
45 to an hour. Yep.
Okay. Do you pick the people that you're performing with, or is that Abby put that show together?
Abby put that show together. Yeah, I can pick sometimes if I have my own show, but usually the club will pick the people.
Well, I'm excited for it. I haven't seen you live, but I'm gonna this weekend, and I hope other people will come out and check
hope
you
so.
out.
That'd be great. That would be great. I'd love to. And I was listening to you talk about the Mets and everything. And
yeah. Have you seen The Room?
They won the World Series.
Yeah. Have you seen The Room? The Sticks and Stones Comedy Club?
No, it's supposed to be stunningly beautiful.
It is very beautiful. It's kind of upclass. It's more like a theater than a comedy club. Which is to me a little scary. I don't want to put that in your head, but and I'm sure you've played all kinds of, performed in all kinds of rooms, but it feels more like a theater, and the comedy club experience is very different than a theater experience.
Well, theaters, you have to take theater. They can be more. It's funny, psychologically, the audience will be more like a little bit more subdued. Where if it's a more intimate comedy room, you could engage with them. But it's good to play both, but you have to use more of the stage when you work in a theater and go back and forth. There's a lot of little techniques you learn.
Do you have to? You just did the dry bar comedy and you put that online. Do you have to constantly write? Like, are you constantly working on new material, like basically every day?
I work on new material. I try and work on new material and hone stuff, and then tighten up my other stuff. But I need 5 half hours for the cruise lines. I need 3 adult, 3 separate different half hours, and then 2 PG shows. And I try and that's where I get to be theatrical. Like I do a whole thing on Mick Jagger. I do a whole thing. I do a Beatles hip hop rap. I do some crazy things to just make it entertaining. But
when you did the Mick Jagger thing, I was really impressed. Because coming from the radio experience, the way that you talk, it's called a talk up. In radio, it's when the music starts playing and the DJ talks until the singing comes in. Like you have that pattern down, perfectly timed, so that you can talk right into where you start singing and becoming Mick Jagger. To me, it speaks of some radio experience. Have you ever done DJing work, or where did that come from?
No, but I like DJs. No, I'm always impressed by DJs that they have this way of a good DJ or a good radio host has a way of bringing out the best in a performer and making it sound like you're in their room. You're not animated, you're personable, you have a relaxed way, and you have a way of getting people to open up and talk about stuff. And DJs have a way of like mixing the music. No, that took a lot of work to time everything. It's all timing. Everything had to be timed. And then it took me 2 months to try and get in a shape like 80-year-old Mick Jagger. I mean, how he could move around like that. I was just working on the things, and I was I was exhausted.
Yeah, I don't see a lot. I've seen many Mick Jagger impersonations. I don't think I've ever seen a woman do it before.
I don't think a woman has done it, so I still want to. Yeah,
Very
but
cool stuff. GD's been very quiet today. But before I let you go, I can't not ask the question that he asked. He was concerned about why you have in the very first line of your bio the straight daughter of and he was thinking that was a sexual orientation or gender orientation. I was thinking it meant more of like a straight, not a drug addict.
We had settled that yesterday. I figured out that you were right. That I was.
Well, I want to ask. I want to hear her say.
I never thought of that. That is a really excellent note. It's just what I've been using, but years ago, straight was like straight lace. You didn't do drugs. You didn't, you smoked cigarettes and drank coffee. I don't even smoke anymore. I used to, but that's a really good point. I'm going to have to, because now it's like cisgender. I mean,
right, yeah. Well,
you can just say straight laced or just quotes. I like I just my brain doesn't work like regular brain.
Right. That's an excellent point. Straight would be like, as though my parents were, I have two mommies or two daddies or something,
right. You have to be
I have a question. I have a question for you based on something that has nothing to do with comedy. It's more with my relationship with my wife. This morning I was talking to her and we were talking about some research I was doing. And I said, well, I think that particular guy has shot his wad. And my wife goes, where does that come from? And I started to explain. She goes, no, I don't need you to explain it to me. Why do you say it? And I explained it. She goes, no, I don't need you to explain it to me. Why do you say he shot his wad? And that's because I said, because he did. I said, because he had his best shot. And she says, I understand that. And she says, but women don't say that. And I went, okay, you're right. So what would a woman say in the event that someone shot their wad, but it's from a woman's point of view?
I actually got told that by my husband when I had this huge development deal, and I was offered the Drew Carey show, and I picked another show that never got made, and I turned down $260,000 in the Drew Carey show because another company begged me to go with them and play a cop. Because I mean, wouldn't I make a good cop? Yeah.
Yeah,
well, definitely.
My Lucian Holt, who wasn't my husband, or we weren't even dating at the time, he goes, honey, you might have just shot your last wad. I'm like, well, what does that mean? He goes, that means you're never going to get another chance.
Wow.
And for right now, I said, well, what am I going to do? He goes, well, you're going to have to make yourself undeniably funny. I said, well, I am funny. He goes, no, you're lucky. 2 years and you have that happen, you're lucky. So shot your last wad, like, what are we supposed to? I don't know, but it's a term that men use because it's like a macho, like, sometimes men have to be men and say manly things, and that's just being a man.
I heard the woman equivalent.
Like
so what's the female equivalent? Yeah, that's what I said. What can my wife say to me so that she goes, she just
if you say clit power or vaginal pussy power, like it just sounds so sexual. Where shot his man, he just shot his wad with that one. It's like it's almost like sports like. But
I said, my wife can't say
like, why don't we have an expression? I don't.
Yeah, she can't say. You can't say. I just made my last egg. It's not the same.
I just shot my last egg through my vagina. There's something off about that.
Yeah, so I was just looking for the female equivalent because every time I opened my mouth, my wife was treating me like I was mansplaining, and I wasn't. It wasn't explaining. I thought I was answering, which is like the difference between explaining an excuse and an answer. And my wife's like, "No, stop it, no."
I think you're a totally whipped dude, man. But that's just it. Well, you're out there gardening. You get out there and do your chores and.
Look. Okay, I have a story that I can tell you about that after Vanessa. I don't want to step on Vanessa.
Fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but I'm a responsible husband. Okay, and that's why that's why I'm a terrible comedian because I put husbandry first, comedy second.
No,
Well,
comedy
that's
comes
why I
first.
wouldn't go near a comedian to date because they are. It's like I don't want a poet. I don't want a magician. I don't want a juggler. I don't want a comedian. I don't. I'll take a gaffer or a lighting technician for Christ's sake.
A cab driver.
Yeah, but women sometimes we've gotten so. I really like. I think it's important for men to be men. It's like if we were in a dangerous situation where our lives were at stake, would you want a evolved woman to protect you, or would you want a man, a big strong man, to make sure that you were going to be okay? And I think we're going through such a transition with what we can say and what we can't say. But sometimes it's just a male expression that's camaraderie, that's just a way of saying things. And, you've taken a lot of guys, so much has been taken from us. We're trying to find the right way to give you your rights. And, it's like women will be like, I want to be treated a certain way. But when the check comes, you're like, he didn't even pay for dinner. I'm like, yeah, well, you wanted to be equal in every single area. You're going to have to, split the check now.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm not sure how new it is though, because my mind just went back to the early '90s when I was in a boardroom where the highest ranking executive in the room said, I think we shot our load on that, and three women.
Load, right?
Yeah, and 3 women really were like really upset by that. And this is more than 30 years ago now. So,
what are we supposed to say? We orgasmed our twat off.
Yeah.
Would guys be upset? It's like, listen, guys.
I think guys would love that.
Nine Dog are amazing. We are just shooting we're just shooting our orgasms.
He made me squirt. I think we just squirted.
We just squirted. We just squirted a battlefield. I mean, it would be like, all right. I would be.
Yeah, but the only difference is squirting a battlefield doesn't make it sound finite.
Yeah,
it just sounds dangerous.
Right.
So shut your last wad just means like you'll never have another chance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
you could tell your wife, just say, honey, baby, sweetie pie. No, I don't know what you. You could just say, I thought about what you said. I even talked to a
professional
comedian, a person, and what would you, as a woman, what would you say to say that was your last shot with a woman's connotation, with a feminine connotation? What would you say when you want to? I would be willing to listen. I'd love to know what kind of shot you wad as a woman, what you would say for that, so that I could show you the same respect. And just ask her point blank and have her not know what the hell to say.
Wow. Yeah. And you know what? We're getting way too sensitive on words.
Absolutely. And women are getting so insane. All this word stuff. #MeToo was to protect women, like in third world country. I don't even know if I could say that. Women say working in factories in India and Russia and China that had to sleep with their bosses to get any kind of respect, to get a better job. We tried to set things up in place so that they could have a voice. Right. And now we get upset over anything. And it's just crazy. I remember when I miss construction workers, saying, hey, baby, you want to drill this? That used to mean I look good today. Now I don't even get the time of day. Now we're supposed to, as women, now look at ourselves and go, you're enough. You're beautiful. I mean, it's just gotten.
Oh yeah.
I miss compliments.
Yeah. I hear it, man. And I got something this morning from my monologue already, and it wasn't much of a monologue. But I said something about George. I said if I ran against a retarded monkey, I might lose, but not George Santos. And somebody immediately DM me like, you can't say retarded monkey. I was like, a monkey. I'm not talking about a person even. Yeah. I'm talking about a monkey. You're offended for a monkey?
Right. I know.
It's
I know.
ridiculous.
Well, when you said that, I immediately, because I have a bit where I talk about my wife's complaint about me using the word retard, and I immediately thought of it like, as soon as you said retarded monkey, I said, okay, there's a letter right there. There's a
Right.
text.
It wasn't a letter, it was a DM. There might be some
Yeah,
letters
DM.
coming later on. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you live. I'll probably be there Friday, but you'll be there Friday and Saturday this week. Sticks and Stones Comedy Club. Come on out, Southampton. Any place east of Nassau County. Come on out and see Vanessa, and I'm sure you're gonna love it. And she's with some really cool people. Steve Rocco Perillo, Bridget Kavanaugh, and Joe Winsel. So
Yes.
come on out. Thanks for being here. Have a great show, and I will be there. But you know what? Have a great weekend.
Okay, thank you so much, and good luck with the misses.
Thank you. Bye for now.
That's a very good point. We got to have one. I don't know what it is, but be a good, interesting question. Okay,
Get it and trademark it.
Yeah.
Get it, trademark it. Get a T-shirt. Marketing. As soon as you get the term down, market it, trademark it.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely. It's a very good thing and I have actually had that thought, so I understand what she's saying. It's like, what do we say? Shot your wad. Because a woman can't say, guys, we just shot our last wad. I mean, we used to, but we can't say that anymore without women going, that is so inappropriate. That is so,
Right.
I don't feel safe in this meeting. There's all that stuff that goes on now. So.
Right. All right. Have a great one. Thank you.
Okay, you too. Take care.
Bye. Vanessa Hollingshead, folks. Was there something you wanted to say? Did I piss you off by calling you whipped?
No. Oh no, it's something. Believe me, I don't get pissed off. But
you get pissed on? Oh, you're one of those guys.
But I pay for that. So no. After before my first marriage ended, just before my first marriage ended, my house needed painting. The house we were living in with my first wife needed painting. The exterior needed painting. And I said, I told her I would do it in the spring because this was the winter. And I said, I'm not going to paint the house in the winter. It's too cold. The paint won't dry right. And I don't want to do this again. At that point, I did not know that we were heading for Splitsville. So spring comes and now we've already separated and I'm in my own house. And so I called my ex-wife and I said, if it's okay with you, I will be by to paint the house this weekend. And she goes, "You're going to paint the house?" I said, "Yeah, I told you that I would paint the house. And I told you in front of our stepdaughter, my stepdaughter. And I'm a man of my word. I want her to understand that it's important that men keep their word." And so she goes, "Okay, you come by and paint the house." So my mother called me and asked me my mother says, "Are you coming by my house this week?" And I said, "No, ma'am, I'm going by the old house to paint it." My mother says, "You what?" I said, "I'm going by the old house to paint it." She goes, "No, I heard you." She goes, "I didn't think I raised you to be a pussy." And I said to my mother at first, and I said, "Mom," I said, "You didn't. You raised me to keep my word." And I told my ex-wife and my stepdaughter that I would paint the house in the spring. It's spring. I'm going to paint the house. I'm keeping my word. That's important to me. And my mother goes, "You're not even with that woman anymore. You don't even live in that house. You have a new house." I said, "Mom, I gave my word. I'm keeping my word." I said, "That's all I have in this life. If I die tomorrow, the only thing I have is my word." And my mother still did not get it. And the thing is, that's the way she raised me. My mother raised me to keep my word. And I went back and I painted the house. But my mother called me a pussy for 2 weeks after that.
I agree with your mother. But you called her ma'am. Wow. You called you no ma'am. You said.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I called my mother ma'am up until the day she died. Even when I was asking her to lie about being raped by Bill Cosby, I called her ma'am.
But here's the thing: in today's world, now maybe you're not your mother, but a lot of women would beat your ass for calling them ma'am. They don't appreciate that anymore. That's like something you can't say to a woman.
But that's my mother. I called her ma'am.
I know, but
yeah, I always call my mother
a lot.
Ma'am. Yeah.
I've said that to. I don't want to get into that, but I have some people get offended by ma'am, like it means old to them or something, like you're calling them ancient or whatever.
No, calling my mother ma'am means I still
I
respect
know
her.
it's
Yeah,
respect, but
yeah.
it's not taken that way all the time anymore. Anyway,
Matter of fact, I will call like actually I call my mother-in-law, my current mother, I call her by her name. But if she were to call me like from the other room to ask me to do something, I would say yes, ma'am, and then she would correct me. But it's still habit. It's still I still out of respect say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir.
I
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing this now, but somebody just. I have a lot of groups and pages on Facebook that I don't manage anymore. For a while, doing using for marketing purposes, creating niches in all different stuff. And I created one page for pet people, cat and dog lovers, and somebody named Terry Katz just DM me. I want to unsubscribe immediately. There is porn on your website, and I will not tolerate this. Well, first of all, unsubscribe yourself. What the fuck do I have to do with that? And second of all, I just looked at it. There's no porn on there, but I can't figure a way to like throw this guy off the page or make it unavailable to him. I shouldn't be doing this now. This is not something I should be doing during the middle of a show.
First
But
of all, a porn on an animal page, or just what's that? Two birds mating? I don't understand.
there's no porn on there. I just looked at the page. There's no porn on it, and he's got this like indignant attitude. I want to unsubscribe immediately in all caps.
Okay,
Like
then
unsubscribe
unsubscribe.
yourself, right?
Yeah, unsubscribe. Yeah.
Fucking make my life miserable in the morning, and there's no fucking porn. I don't know where you go. Maybe it's going to a website called catsanddoglovers.com, and there's people doing bestiality or something, but that ain't mine. I don't own that. Anyway, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't look at this at all with these communications I get in the morning while I'm doing this, but sometimes I'm worried it might be a guest saying they can't show or something like that. Anyway, where were we? So yeah, I wanted to ask her about that straight thing because there was some confusion there, and I wasn't saying I was definitely right about that yesterday. It just occurred to me that it used to have a different meaning. The word "straight" used to have a very different meaning than it has now.
Yeah, I mean, once I heard myself say the question out loud, I immediately thought in my head straight laced, and I went, and it made sense,
Right. Yeah.
But
So her stuff is really funny, man. You got to check out some of her stuff.
I did
Yeah.
actually. I needlessly researched her and watched a lot of her material. I could have just not watched it and just listened from the cheap seats.
I like her attitude, and now to me, she's New York. She's everything about her screams New York. And,
Yeah, I figured I should have taken actually when you said to me earlier in the week that should just take the first hour off. I should have just taken the first hour off because I didn't realize that even with my gift for gab, trying to find a decent break between two New Yorkers talking was going to be virtually impossible without coming off as like a traffic cop or something. I didn't, I was like, and then you were asking the same questions I wrote down, which really, I'm like, okay, scratch this off.
What did I ask her?
Yeah.
About the hot yoga stuff and the dry comedy.
That's the first thing on my list was the hot yoga stuff, and then the cruise ship stuff because she's talking about the Southern gentleman on the cruise ship. She starts off talking about Southern gentlemen and comparing them to New York men. And so the only question, literally, the only thing I had left was the female equivalent of Shot Your Wad. That was the only thing I had left that you had not brought up.
Wow.
And you would have brought that up had you talked to my wife this morning.
Oh yeah. I was interested in the stuff about working with Fran Dresser and the women of a certain age.
I love that show.
Yeah, but it's been hijacked, and I don't know if they know whoever the executive producer is. All around the country, women. Anytime there's like a bill at a comedy club that's all women and they're 40 or older, it's billed as women of a certain age comedy, and I'm certain it's not affiliated with that production.
Because they have like one of two hosts usually. It's Fran Drescher, who was one, and there was another woman who was a regular hostess, and I can't remember her name, but it was like a formatted show. But I like it because I like comedians that can tell stories that I can't tell.
Right. Yeah.
Or if they tell the same story, they tell it in a way that I'll go, oh, that was worth the trip, or that was worth it. So I like watching that.
This is I guess somebody's talking. Kelly's talking about the chat room or something. I don't know. This isn't an airport. You don't have to announce your departure. I love when people unfollow me and I'm talking about the guy that wants me to. I don't know, the unsubscribe guy. I don't know. I don't know what that's about. Maybe Kelly's watching another show at the same time. Sometimes she calls off dry cleaning numbers. Maybe this is that. She's the Atlantic this morning has an. I'm going to go to a commercial so I can, or maybe a music video or something, so I can refresh my coffee because I'm going to need it. But I want to talk to you about this. The Atlantic has a story about solar panels and backlash. People complaining about solar panels on roofs and all and everywhere they are as a eyesore in the neighborhood and all that kind of stuff. But to me, it's funny. The people who are doing the complaining are not exactly environmentally concerned people, but they're people who are actually complaining about green energy and all this stuff. But I'm talking about hardcore conservatives. Almost every one of them is taking advantage of the energy savings and stuff, and the interest-free installation and all that kind of stuff of solar panels on their roofs. But the same people who are complaining about green energy and we shouldn't have to go there and all that kind of stuff. It's like the hypocrisy is, it's okay for me, just nobody else.
Right.
And they're complaining about solar panels on their neighbors' houses and solar panels on what used to be a park or something, and now it's just a bunch of solar panels. It's crazy that the people who are complaining the loudest I have a friend, the guy with the mansion that we played at in the summertime. He's got a whole area of his property is nothing but solar panels to power his mansion and all his property and stuff, and he's one of the guys complaining about it. Just fucking crazy.
If I had my way, as a matter of fact, the plan is for us to get solar here. I just don't want it on the roof anymore. We have enough land that we can actually get like a solar strip, so to speak, and just run it to the house. So I don't want it on my roof anymore.
Bean Flicker is saying that she shot her load. That's why she was behind. No, that's not what she said. She was having computer issues. Well, she shot her load too. Anyway, our next guest is here, but I need to refresh my coffee. And so I'm going to play a little. I'm going to play the longest commercial we have, which is
Inagata Davida.
No, not the longest song we have. The longest commercial we have, which is Daily High Club. Daily High Club is not weed. You can't get weed. You can't get LSD. 9 hits of LSD she took as a kid. Can you imagine that?
At once, yeah.
And then they had to pump Thorazine in her ass. Well, no wonder you end up being a stand-up comedian after a childhood like that. Anyway. Daily High Club is not that. It's papers and bongs and vapes and all that kind of stuff. And you can get a monthly box, a themed box every single month. Join the club. Here, find out about it. Let Willie tell you about it, and I'll be right back.
With humble East Coast beginnings in 2015, Daily High Club is the premier destination for glass water pipes, vaporizers, and consumption accessories. If you're looking to elevate your smoking game to the next level, you're in the right place. With over 1 million top quality smoking products sold, and with a growing base of over 10,000 monthly subscribers worldwide, we deliver the ultimate smoking experience. But Daily High Club is not just another retailer. We're lovers of the smoking scene ourselves, working with giants like Tommy Chong, Snoop Dogg, Chanel West Coast, and more. Ready to join the Daily High Club? Let our experts curate your collection with our awesome El Primo monthly subscription box, or grab one of our fun and unique pieces from our smoke shop. Get started today. Visit minddogtv.com and click on the banner on the homepage.
Welcome
Are you
back.
kidding me? I missed that.
Yeah,
That was a really long commercial. I was taking my time.
I was going to ask you when the commercials run, at least with this is StreamYard. When I use Restream, there's a timer that tells you how much is left in the video. There is not one for is it or is it just visible by you?
It's invisible on the bottom. I don't know. I guess you can't see it. That's really weird. Wow, I apologize for that.
Well, I could just be looking in the wrong spot then.
I thought that was a much longer commercial. It says it's 1 minute and 20 seconds. I was taking my time thinking I had 2.5 minutes there. Well, that's the first time that's ever happened.
Well, I had to send Joe a text because he was about to run and go to the bathroom and start a number 2. And I had to send him a text and tell him not to 2, just a 1, and then he could 2 later.
Yeah. Or pee in your pants. Or
yeah,
just have a cup underneath the desk or something.
He may have a cup on the desk.
The old-fashioned way. Joe Pontillo is here.
Yes.
Joe Pontillo is New York comedy guy. He's a stand-up who I like his approach to what he's doing online. He's doing different. You see so many people doing crowd work reels and stuff. His reels are not that. His reels are more one-man skit type of. I don't know if that's really I don't know how to explain it, but it's just funny bits of him, stuff that is written material that is not actually doing stand-up and definitely not doing crowd work, which so many people are doing. And I like his stuff. I think he's a Met fan. I think he's a Giant fan. I'm not certain about that, but he's got some sports bits. I'm gonna assume that he's a fan of The Fan, WFAN in New York. But he's here now. Let's welcome in Joe Pontillo to Coffee with Doug. Joe, welcome. Joe.
Hey, welcome. Yeah, I am most of the things, unfortunately. How are you guys doing?
Good. Good morning. Thanks for getting up and being part of the show. I was talking about your your approach to what you do on social media is different than a lot of comedians. A lot of comedians are putting out all these just crowd work videos and stuff because they don't want to burn material. How would you describe what you do on your Instagram reels and those kind of things?
Yeah, I do mostly like sketches, and I'm so insane that I end up doing a lot of sketches where I'm playing multiple characters.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I figure I have enough costumes from throughout the years or props or whatever, I could pull it off, and somehow I feel like that makes it funnier to an extent. I don't know. I might be delusional. And then, when it comes to stand-up, like if I'm gonna post a clip, I'd rather it be a joke, maybe something topical, or something I don't do as much anymore. I don't I'll do crowd work, but I don't like to ask the audience questions. I feel like that only leads to problems half the time.
Yes, it can.
Yeah.
So New York, are you are you a hustler in New York? Are you going from are you one of these guys who is using every opportunity to get around the city and any stage time you can get type of because you got these guys riding around from the Stand to Comedy Cellar and Gotham, all over the city. Are you doing that, or are you basically just picking and choosing your dates?
Kind of a mix of the two. I'm a bit of a hustler, but like you mentioned, going from the Stand to the Cellar, I think my journey's a bit sadder when I'm bouncing around the city. I'll be like, yeah, I'm going from the Grizzly Pear to some random bar show on 50th Street.
Wow.
And but yeah, whatever. I'm all about getting stage time wherever. I'm on the road a lot on the weekends, so traveling, making money, sort of. And then
Yeah.
it's kind of what I'm about comedy wise.
How long you been doing it?
I technically started doing comedy in like the mid 2000s, like 2005, 2006.
Wow. You play? Is it going to be your entire life?
Oh God!
Why technically? Wait a minute. What? No, I won't. No, why technically? I mean, was there something you're doing untechnically that wasn't funny, and you just don't count those years? Like, I've been telling jokes since 1999, but they weren't funny until. So, what is technically?
Something like that. No, I kind of feel like when I started, I tried comedy, did it once, didn't do it for like a year, and then I would do it like once a month for like another year. And then finally, at some point, I was like, oh, I should probably, get on stage every night if I can.
Okay, so you were doing the comedy layaway plan.
You sort of. Comedy in installments, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Wow. Yeah, I asked you if you were a lifer, and you kind of reacted to that. Because I don't know. I don't think once you get in it, if you're in it as long as you are, if you started in the early 2000s, I don't think there's a way out for you. I think you're doomed to do comedy till you die.
Yeah, no. My family's had multiple interventions, and nothing took. So here we are. But you don't do something unless you really love it. So when it's good, it's great. That's how I would describe comedy.
People do stuff that they because this is an issue, I think, especially now, is people who are doing comedy not because they love comedy, but because they want to be in television, they want to be in movies, and they see it as a stepping stone to that. And there's a lot of that. And so I think they're muddying the waters for true comedy. People who really appreciate the art form,
or they just can't afford therapy, or they're abandoned. There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah,
I think when I started, because I when I was growing up and a teenager, Seinfeld was on the air, and I was like, how did Seinfeld get a TV show? I want a TV show.
Yeah,
and he did stand-up comedy, and I was like, oh, all right, that seems like an easy path.
Well,
here we are almost 20 years later, and
well, timing is everything.
No, just kidding, but
timing is everything, right? Television is really, and sitcoms, are pretty much a thing of the past anyway. Nobody sits home and it used to be Thursday nights, like people would watch one sitcom after another and basically they would line that up like all night long of sitcoms, and that's just not the case anymore.
Well, a lot of the jokes are getting stale too. A lot of the stuff they just keep rehashing. So it's like, well, why watch some of the rehashes? I can't watch a sitcom and not go, okay, this was done back in this was done in 1968 by so and so. This is just a rehash of the Brady, football game. It's not being original anymore.
Right. That's actually the premise of my potential sitcom. Somebody gets hit in the face, but not with a football, with a soccer ball. It's totally different.
And instead of Marsha, they're yelling, Michelle.
One of the bits that made me actually laugh out loud, and again, it's really difficult to watch something on a computer screen and actually really laugh out loud. But one of the bits that you have is it seems like you're mocking WFAN, but I'm wondering, are you old enough to remember Mike and the Mad Dog? Because it seems like that's what you're doing is a stand-up of Mike and the Mad Dog on that.
Oh, yeah. I used to, when I had a day job, I'd be driving around making deliveries, and I would listen all day to WFAN. And Mike Francesta, unintentionally one of the funniest people on the planet. I'm sorry. It would always make me so happy when someone would call in and either like intentionally make him mad or just say something he didn't agree with and start screaming.
Yeah. The part that I burst out laughing at is, and I hate to ruin a joke for somebody, but most people, they're not in New York or listening to this, not New York anyway, wouldn't understand this. But I think the Mets should sign Pete Alonso to a lifetime deal and then trade him. That is so
Yeah.
WFAN.
Well, I still kind of follow along with some of the newer WFAN guys, and like on my Facebook feed, I get like notifications for like what they said on WFAN this morning, and literally depending on whether or not the Mets won or lost the night before, it's like a completely different take. Like Mets should keep Showalter forever. Mets should fire and arrest him. Alonso should be traded. They should get DeGrom back, even though he's out for 2 years. Like, no, what are you talking about? Mets are back in it. Giants are going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
How do you live like this?
Yeah, I love it, man.
Okay, well, I just you being a Giants fan, I just want to run this by. I used to do a joke back when it was relevant. Back when Eli Manning was the quarterback for the Giants, and he was
100 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is so that's why I'm saying it's not relevant anymore. But I get to bring it up now because I got a Giants. So the premise of the joke was that at that time, a lot of NFL players were getting in trouble for beating their kids. I'm sorry, hitting their kids. And so the premise,
wives.
Yeah. Well, the story that I was doing was about the kids, and so my big punchline was not my big punchline. My favorite line was Eli couldn't hit his kids because they were open. And thank you. And half the time they were, and depending on the audience,
or his wife would intercept him.
Right? Yeah, but I love that line so much because it was so because Eli had these two great catches. I mean, not catches. These two great throws to guys that were like covered like blankets. And one he catches on his head and falls down. And the other one that Eli is like being ripped apart like this, and he still completes the pass. And so I thought that was like really great material, but I don't get to use it anymore because that was like back then. But I just brought it to rehash it for someone who's a Giant fan to see if I got a laugh. That's all.
Yeah.
That's not even a whole joke. I did it just with the punchline. That's not even a whole setup.
Honestly, after the Giants won their second Super Bowl against the Patriots in 2012, I kind of checked out of football a little bit. So it's still relevant to me.
Yeah. You know what? I have too. That's around the time I quit sports altogether. But coming back to Francese, in the first time the Giants beat New England in November, the Giants looked like they were going nowhere. And that very season, the GM called Eli skittish and said, "I don't think this kid is ever going to make it in the NFL." And Thanksgiving time comes, and I was on the air with Francesa, and I said, the Giants are going to win the Super Bowl this year. And he said, "You're out of your..." And he got one of those, you're an idiot. The Giants can't tie their shoelaces 3 times in a row, and they're going to have to play New England, who is going on an undefeated. They're going to play. They're working on an undefeated season. They're going to have to beat them then, and then beat them again at the end of the playoffs. You're out of your mind. And he never he berated me and would call me an idiot, and then it happened.
Now, my wife and my stepson are from New England. They're from Maine. They are New England fans, and so I had to live through that garbage. And not only that, the games that they were winning because of referees taking swallowing their whistles at the wrong time. And I was just saying that I kept saying I don't believe in that kind of karma, but if you do, the Patriots are not going undefeated because they were given. I said they were given 3 games so far, and they owe the football gods 3 games.
Oh yeah, I mean the Patriots back then could have literally one of their players could have run somebody over with a car on the field, and the refs would have been like, "Nah."
Yeah, the car was registered. The car was registered. It's illegal. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what's great is now the Patriots are bad, and I think I saw an article the other day of, is Bill Belichick actually a bad coach? And it's like, he has no players now.
Wow. Yeah. Where's my Gov stuff? Did we get rid of the Gov stuff? I just want to let people know you're at Governor's Giggle Room in Levittown.
Yeah,
Friday night. Are you there alone, or are you?
I wish. No,
the place not even open. It's not even open. He's just there.
I'm not even on the show. I'm just hanging out. If anybody wants to do a meet and greet.
No, I have never been there when there's 2 shows going on at the same time. There's a show going on in the main room, and you're in the Giggle Room.
Yeah. So my show's at 8. I don't know what time the main show happens. Might actually be the same time. But yeah, the giggle room gets packed. It used to be called the little room, and I still haven't properly transitioned to the giggle room yet.
Yeah.
So it's me, Carlo Okerson, Rich Rada, and Eric Marino, I think is the other guy.
Yeah. Now, have you've done Gov's a bit? Yeah. Are you used to the room and the crowds there?
Oh yes. I honestly, I Long Island, say what you will, great comedy audiences for the most part.
Yeah.
So
You know, we're on Network, and I don't get to the clubs. I've been to Brokerage a lot. I've been to McGuire's, but not the main room, not the main property in Levittown that much. Last time I was there 2 weeks ago. Very young crowd. Is that standard there? Because 20s, a lot of people in their 20s
really,
were. Yeah.
no, I feel like the average age there is like 52 years old for the audience. I don't mean
Yeah,
that in
so
a bad
it was
way.
an anomaly, and
Yeah.
it was for Attell, and Attell's an old guy, but he actually has a young audience because he talks about porn and stuff, internet porn, I guess.
Uh, yes, and no one over 30 watches porn, so.
No, they just don't talk about it. Young people do.
But that's interesting. It's good to know actually that he has kind of a younger crowd now.
I was
I
the old
somebody
man there.
who hopefully, every genre of people from like 20s to like their 80s will find somewhat enjoyable. So
Yeah. Interesting. You got like a full schedule. I mean, do you have management, or you do this all yourself? All the bookings you control. You
I could
doing?
use some management if you know anybody, but I yeah, it's mostly me. It's me reaching out and harassing people, or people hitting me up out of the blue, or uh, you know, comedian being like, "Want to do this thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it. Who cares?"
That's interesting. A lot of people, there a lot of people who are in it 5, 6 years. They start looking, and nobody knows how to hook up with a manager. And then I have the other guys where I can't communicate without going through their management. Like some of the people who've been on the show, they even though they're friendly and they say they enjoy the time, all the communication has to go through their management. It's like that to me is a make or break, or not make or break, but it's a significant milestone in a career is when you get hooked up with a manager who does all that shit for you,
Right? Who can
and you
actually
can just
make movies,
concentrate on being funny.
right? Which would be nice.
Yeah.
When I started doing comedy, funny / terrible story, for like 2 weeks, I had my dad pretending to be my manager. And he called like exactly 2 clubs, and I got 0 bookings out of it. And I was like, you know what? We're done.
Well, yeah, he probably wasn't. I don't know, primed for how to
Yeah.
pitch to a comedy club.
I was young, and I'm like, I don't want to. It was still, when you had to call people on the phone, and I was like, I don't like talking on the phone. Can you tell these people?
Right. Now, I'm really impressed by it because it seems like every single possible date your book. So, congratulations on because most people would be envious of the schedule that you have coming up.
I do sometimes print it up and carry it around with me when I go to shows, so other comedians.
Bragging notes. When you play in the places that you mentioned, like around New York, that are more like bars, and people don't necessarily go for comedy. They're not going there for comedy. They're going there for drugs or pickup or whatever, that kind of stuff. Is that a extreme challenge to get the attention on you? And New York, I would think you have to get a little over the top. Hey, I'm doing comedy up here. Listen to me.
It's kind of like a weird. I like to describe it as there's a lot of surprise comedy shows where people go to a bar or a cafe or something. They're like, it's comedy time, and you wait and see how many people go ugh, and then get up and leave.
Yeah.
I feel like some of them almost take it as a challenge. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to stay here and maybe listen, but also just look angry the whole time. And, I go back and forth about whether or not do I need to win this crowd over, or should I just realize I shouldn't be doing these shows anymore?
I went to a venue. I wanted to check it out before I see if I could get booked there. And when I got there, I was talking to the guy who did the booking, and I was there on karaoke night. Okay, so I'm sitting there talking to the guy, and the guy goes, well, "Why don't you do a set for them now so they can hear, your comedy?" I'm like, and my wife looks at me. She goes,
yeah, that's what they want.
Yeah, my wife goes like, "Don't do it, don't do it." I'm thinking like, I think it could be could be fun. And the guy goes, "All right, I'm going to just tell everybody that we're going to stop the karaoke, and you're going to, how long you want to do? Can you do 30 minutes?" And I'm looking at my wife, and she's going, "No, don't do 30 minutes." I'm so sure I can do 30 minutes. So the guy gives me the microphone, and I didn't want to just start doing the comedy right away. So I did a karaoke song first. I did like "Hungry Like the Wolf" or something with the MC, with the guys. So we did that duet of "Hungry Like the Wolf," and then I did 30 minutes of comedy, and it took a while to like get the room, set by. But I did it. It took like 4 minutes to get the room into it, but I did it, and I only did it because my wife was like, "Don't." It was just like a challenge. It's like, can I convert a karaoke room into a comedy club in 30 minutes?
Not the weirdest venue for a comedy show. One time I was acting in a murder mystery. This was years ago. And I was the murder victim, so I get killed, and nobody wanted to solve the murder, and the crowd got like loud. They were like talking to themselves, and then the other people on the show, they were comedians too. They started doing stand-up to try to get the crowd back into it, and I couldn't break character, so I had to continue to play dead and couldn't even get up and do a set.
3 weeks later, he's still laying on the floor of the bar.
You couldn't do this. You couldn't go, ooh.
Finally, when no one would solve the murder, I just jumped up at some point and went, "You know what, folks? I killed myself. Okay, good night."
I did it, and actually, you did it to me. The best line, the Albert Brooks documentary is coming out November 11th. But in Defending Your Life, there's a scene where he's in Heaven's Comedy Club, and the guy says, "How'd you die?" He said, "On stage like you."
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in years. I love that.
Yeah. Albert Brooks is the funniest man on the planet. You know what we haven't done yet today? I just want to see a reaction here. We haven't done this.
Comedians who are funnier than Segura.
You're a bum. Get out of town. We have a comedian who is funnier than Tom Segura here with us, Joe Pontillo from New York. JoePontillo.com.
Bullshit. This is
He's a little upset because he hasn't been.
He's not a past guest.
he hasn't been named. Oh, you just broke your puppet.
Oh my!
Every day he breaks something.
That's right. You do a service to the entertainment community by doing that.
Yeah. He doesn't even know who Tom Segura is, which is the funny part about it. The fact that he hasn't been named is funnier than Tom Segura. Just a bit we do here. I do every day. I'm not a big fan of bullying, and Tom Segura has been bullying people lately. I don't know if you follow it.
Oh, really? Well, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with his work per se, but I know of him.
Yeah, good for you. See, that fact that you're not familiar with his work, that's a good thing, because that's another jab at him, because he thinks he's so big. I don't want to totally keep making about Tom Segura, but he thinks he's so big that everybody else should kiss his ass, and he's been punching down on people and all that stuff. So it's good. It's good to hear people who've never seen him or don't know his work. It's like, you're not as big as you think you are. Anyway, So the New York scene, do you get out of this area at all? Have you? Because we just talked to Vanessa Hollingshead. She's doing a lot of cruise ship work, and I think that's like, to me, my experience with that was not good. But road work is definitely something I enjoyed when I was young, going around and seeing the country. Performing in different places. Are you doing any of that? Because I don't see any of that on your schedule. It's all kind of within the New York metro area.
Yeah, I got a lot of tri-state area stuff coming up, although I'm doing Ohio in a few weeks, which isn't even that far, but it's almost like a different world. And then, but yeah, like earlier this year, I went to Tennessee and Kentucky and North Carolina. It's probably the furthest I went this year.
Did they pick you out immediately as a New Yorker? Because I don't hear it. I mean, in Vanessa, I definitely heard New York. I've heard New York in her immediately, but you just sound like a regular guy to me.
I guess
a
regular guy.
Yeah, I got a New York.
From anywhere. You could be from the Bronx, or you could be from Queens. You could be anybody. No.
Well, let me ask you, G. Do you hear the difference between Vanessa and Joe? I mean, Vanessa was over the top, very in New York accent.
I'm not familiar with her stuff. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, she has a very thick New York accent. Now that I think about it, we did Hartford together a couple of years ago.
Oh, really? GD, you're not from here. Do you hear it?
I hear it. Yeah, I hear it.
I mean, he sounds New York to you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He doesn't sound New York to me. He just sounds like regular. He sounds like he sounds American to me. Vanessa sounds New York.
He sounds like a dude.
Yeah. How much time do you put into? How much time and energy do you put into all the reels you're doing? It seems like it would be a consuming thing, especially when you're playing multiple characters and all that kind of stuff.
Some of them take some of them just come together really quickly, and other ones, I have a meltdown and I'm like, I didn't say this the right way and I need to record this 5 times. So anyway, it's usually, it never takes up an entire day per se, but sometimes it's like I'll film a thing and then I'll edit it the next day. So I guess it does become kind of a process. Yeah. And doing it all myself. So that's another thing. It's not like I send it to somebody somewhere and I'll be like, make magic out of this.
Except for the WFAN type of reel that you did, I didn't hear any real profanity, and even in that one, it was kind of bleeped. You did a F-bomb with a bleep over it, but I could tell you were saying the F-bomb. But do you work clean?
I do work clean. I mean, I've got a couple of R-rated jokes, I would say, but they're I don't need to do them, but I'll do them with crowds in the zone for that.
Are you work clean on purpose to get more work and to be able to perform more, or do you do it because that's who you are?
Well, I can curse a lot. I feel like sometimes I'll curse a lot on stage, which some people for some reason consider dirty, but it's really not. It's kind of to get more work, and also like the old theory used to be work clean to get on TV, but nobody's getting on TV anymore, so not sure what we're doing.
Yeah, no, Vanessa was doing the dry bar comedy, and I have other friends who've gone out to Utah to do the dry bar comedy, and hers was the dirtiest I've seen, and it wasn't really, X-rated. It wasn't even really R-rated, but that kind of stuff, they insist on you being squeaky clean, and it's a tough thing to do, man. To have to think about every word you say.
Yeah, it's kind of a challenge because, like, even if something's not like dirty, like, there's a joke where I say the word horny and I'm like, oh, is that too much? So even though it's a clean joke per se, still. And then oh my god, my favorite is years ago I did a show at like a Catholic ministry or something, and you obviously had to be squeaky clean, and I had one joke where I spell out the word ass.
Wow.
But it was like that word's probably in the Bible, and the and the woman that ran the show like gasped when I said the joke, but then the punchline got a laugh, so I'm like, I'm fine. And then long story short, I was never back there again.
Yeah, I got banned from a church for 11 years. We played a Catholic church, a feast, but the stage was connected to the back auditorium of a Catholic church, and all the priests were there watching our set. And we did a cover of the Beatles' Ballad of John and Yoko, where it says, "Christ, you know it ain't easy. You know how hard it can be. The way things are going, they're going to crucify me." And the priests were turning bright red. And then we did an original song called "Church on Sunday." And the hook line in there, "Raise Hell," and it's like it's about raise go to church on Sunday, but raise hell on Saturday night, and all the drinking and so, yeah, we got it banned for 11 years for that. So
only 11.
It was a lifetime ban. It was a lifetime ban, but the head priest died 11 years later.
Right. You just gotta wait them out.
Wait it out.
They either die, get convicted, or get transferred.
Right.
Right.
I got to say goodbye to Gov's Network right now, Gov's, to make room for Knock 'em Dead Comedy, which is your next show coming up on the Governor's Network right now. Make sure you go to see Joe Pontillo in the Giggle Room in Levittown this Friday night, I think 8 p.m.